Welcome to Intro to Plays. A play is where everything in Unify comes together. It's a series of steps or a workflow automation that takes the audience that we've created, prospects for the right folks, and then routes our personas into the right sequences. In this video, let's build our first play together. First, navigate to the Plays section of the Unify platform. Let's say we want to outbound to people that visit our pricing page that are heads of marketing and heads of sales. Click New Play in the upper right-hand corner and click Create from Scratch. Let's give this play a name, Pricing Page Visitors who are CMOs and VPs of Sales. The first thing we will see is the trigger node. This is what fires off the play and is where we define the audience. Let's click Select Trigger and click Record Enters an Audience. If we predefined this audience before, we can find it here and click Pricing Page Visitors and click Done. But let's create it from scratch here. Scroll down and click Website Visitors. We want this to be people that visited our pricing page. So we're going to select Page Views Matching, Pricing, and then we want to layer on that these people are executive level, so CMOs and VPs of sales. So we'll add our persona match here, and let's add the CMO persona match or heads of sales persona match, and then click Done. Great. Now that we've defined that audience, we want to route them into an email sequence. To do this, we will drag and drop the sequencing node, click Add Routing, and then we'll our CMOs via this mailbox to the marketing sequence and heads of sales via this mailbox to the heads of sales sequence. And that's it. In just 5 minutes, we've built a play to identify visitors to our pricing page that are CMOs and VPs of sales and automatically routed them to a CMO sequence and a VP of sales sequence. Congratulations on creating your first play. Now that you've built your first play, let me walk you through the different nodes in the play builder and ways that you can mix and match them to build more complex plays. You're already familiar with the first node, which is the trigger. Here are some of the options that you can configure to fire off a play. Record enters an audience and record matches criteria are two of the most common triggers. Recently, we launched LinkedIn signals that you can also use to trigger plays. This could be people who follow your company on LinkedIn, people who follow you or your employees' profiles on LinkedIn, people who recently viewed your or your employees' LinkedIn profiles, people that liked and commented on posts. Last but not least, you can also fire this off to website visitors or champions that recently changed jobs. For this example, let's just pick when a record enters an audience, and let's just say for now that it's my territory. Now, let's take a look at the nodes that we can connect to the trigger node. There's two common ones that you'll probably use most often. The first is an AI agent, and the second is the prospecting node. Let's start with the prospecting node. This node goes through companies in the prior node, and it prospects for whatever ICP or persona you define. So in this example, companies are in my territory, and I can have the prospecting node prospect for very different ICPs depending on what I want to sell. So let's say I sell first to CFOs, and that I sell to CEOs and heads of marketing. What I'm really trying to show is that you can really custom define these personas, and then the prospecting node will only find people that meet this persona criteria. If you want, you can enrich this and add a manual step to call as part of your play. And you can also specify location here to make sure that it's in the location that you want. And then this prospecting node will do that prospecting of those personas. After you connect a prospecting node, you'll want to connect a loop. This is because a prospecting node is going to return a long list of people, and you'll want to loop through and go through each of those people one by one and then do something. Usually you'll route them into a sequence. Here we can set up a sequence node where we can route which personas get which sequence. So for example, I can have my CEOs get the founder or CEO sequence. I can have my heads of marketing go through this mailbox, get my heads of marketing sequence, my heads of sales go through this mailbox, and get my heads of sales sequence. So this routing happens within the sequencing node, and it's taking personas we've already defined and sequences we've already written. So this is a very common structure of a play that runs on a list of companies and that prospects at those companies and then loops them into a sequence. Now let's go through the second most common node you will add after a trigger node into a list of companies, which is an AI agent qualification node. This uses an agent that we previously defined, and that agent will go through all of the people or companies in this audience and run that qualification on them. Let's just stick with my territory and say that we want to see if the company has negative sentiment on Glassdoor. Then we want to say, if true, mark the company as qualified. For those companies that are qualified, we then want to prospect for leads at those companies. Say I want 5 people and I want to prospect for heads of recruiting. After the prospecting node, we will connect the loop block and then loop people into the right sequence. We can have our head of recruiting go to our head of recruiting sequence. This is another structure that's very common, which is territory, AI agent qualification, if true, prospect, loop through, route to sequence. Taking a look at the other nodes on the left-hand side, most of the ones after AI agent, prospect, and sequence are utility nodes. The loop node you saw in action here, you can also create if-else, A/B tests, delays, and getting companies or people, but we're going to cover this in more depth in Unify 201. And that concludes the high-level walkthrough of the play builder, the types of nodes you will most commonly use, and 2 types of very common structures that you'll use for your outbound plays. Thank you so much, and see you in the next video.